Good morning. Welcome to the Namako Unitarian Universalist congregation. My name is Dr. Clare Hammoor. I'm the intern minister here at this bright, loving, water-filled, joyful congregation. I'm so excited for our service today. There was a beautiful retreat that started this morning. We have our service. There will be a ministry fair and lunch provided afterward. And then make sure you stick around for square dancing, which is happening at noon today. So there's a lot to look forward to. But first, we get to look forward to coming together. So no matter who you are, no matter who you love, no matter where you're coming from today, you're welcome, and we're glad that you're here. I want to give special thanks this morning to our worship associates, Leonard and Cherry, to Ryan doing music today, to Alice and Sarah, who are taking care of our tech world, to our ushers, to everyone setting up coffee, and there's a whole team getting things ready behind us. It takes a village, and we're really grateful for all of these people. There's this beautiful poem that Daniel Legros George writes called, "What is Water?" He says, "What is water but rain, but cloud, but river, but ocean, but ice, but tear? What is tear but torn? What is worn as skin, as in, as out?" And today at our water communion, we have the opportunity to see what has been in for each of us and to bring it out and make it visible. Leonard is going to lead us now in our congregational affirmation, which I invite you to read in your order of service. Moment to have a greeting with the people around you. Give them a high five, give them a hug, give them a good morning, say hello. We've seen the people around you. Now push your gaze out to take a look at the bigger congregation, at all the people here. Gratitude for us sharing this space together. People above, people on Zoom. And Cherry's going to lead us in our chalice lighting.
So our chalice lighting this morning comes from words by our favorite, Mary Oliver. Can you hear me? Let's see, I think they're getting it on.
It is on.
Yeah, okay. All right. Now it's too loud, huh? So the chalice lighting comes from words by Mary Oliver. For years, every morning I drank from Blackwater Pond. It was flavored with oak leaves and also, no doubt, the feet of ducks. As always, it assuaged me from the dry bowl of the very far past. What I want to say is that the past is the past, and the present is what your life is, and you are capable of choosing what that will be, darling citizen. So come to the pond, or the river of your imagination, or the harbor of your longing, and put your lips to the world and live your life. Come, let us worship together.
So I'm going to invite you to stay seated for now as we sing number 367. If you have a low voice, you get to start this one. If you have a high voice, you get to call in response. So let's just sing it once together. Low voices, you get to start. Just kind of get your willies out from the morning. Yeah, here we go. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Let's do it one more time, and then we're going to add some choreography. Beautiful. Okay. So what we're going to do, if you're willing, is have the low voices start standing. So you can go ahead and stand up if you consider yourself a low voice. What we're going to do is when you're singing, you stand. Now, if you'd rather not stand, you can raise your hand. That's fine too. When you're not singing, you sit back down. Or put your hands down. So high voices, when you come in, you'll stand up. And when you're done, so we'll have a little bit of. You're all so amazing. Here we go. Low voices start. 1, 2, 3. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Good morning.
Let's give Ryan a little love for that. Our Time for All Ages this morning is a really beautiful book called I Talk Like a River. I Talk Like a River by Jordan Scott and Sydney Smith. Are there kids who want to come down here for the story, or do you want to stay there? What feels good? We're coming down. Great. Let's give them a little love on their walk down. Thanks for coming down. On the page, we see these squares. They're sort of broken up. Maybe it looks kind of like the pictures are stuttering. It says, I wake up with the sounds of words each morning all around me. P for the pine tree outside my bedroom window. C for the crow and its branches. M for the moon fading in the morning sky. I wake up each morning with the sounds of words all around me, and I can't say them all. And here we see the boy looking out the window to see the crow in the morning. The P in pine tree grows roots inside my mouth and tangles my tongue. The C is a crow that sticks in the back of my throat. The M in moon dusts my lips with a magic that makes me only mumble. And there we see the pictures mashed together on top of each other. I wake up in the morning with these word sounds stuck in my mouth, and I stay quiet as a stone. And there we see him getting ready, brushing his teeth in the mirror. I eat my oatmeal without a peep. I get ready for the day without a word. And there we see him having his oatmeal for breakfast. At school, I hide in the back of class. I hope I don't have to talk. When my teacher asks me a question, all my classmates turn and look. They don't see the pine tree sticking out of my lips instead of a tongue, and they don't hear the crow caw, caw, inside my throat. They don't hide their eyes from the moonlight that shines from my open mouth. And there we see him with roots growing over his face. All they hear is how I don't talk like them. All they see is how strange my face looks, that I can't hide how scared I am. My mouth isn't working. It's full of words of the morning. And there we see many pictures of him. Mornings are always hard, but this one's especially tough. I'm more stuck than ever. My teacher says we all have to talk about our favorite place in the world. Today's my turn, but my mouth just isn't working. I want to go home. My dad picks me up from school. It's just a bad speech day, he says. Let's go somewhere quiet. And there we see them in the truck together. My dad takes me to the river. We walk along the shore looking for colorful rocks and water bugs, and we see them along a beautiful river. It feels good to be quiet and alone with my dad, but I can't stop thinking about my bad speech day. All those eyes watching my lips twist and curl, all those mouths giggling and laughing, and we see them along the water, and we see the water crashing beside them. I feel a storm in my belly. My eyes fill with rain. My dad sees I'm sad and he pulls me close and he points to the river and he says, see how that water moves? That's how you speak. I look at the water. And there we see them looking together. Bubbling, whirling, churning, and crashing. And we see the boy alongside the water in the same picture we saw at the beginning of the book. And here we see the boy's face. But the pages open up, it gets big. And he says, I talk like a river. And there we see him in the river. This is what I like to remember to help stop myself from crying. I talk like a river, or from not wanting to speak at all. I talk like a river. When words around me are hard to say, I think of the proud river, bubbling, churning, whirling, and crashing. And there we see him smiling, swimming in the river. And I also think of the calm river beyond the rapids where the water is smooth and glistening. This is how my mouth moves. This is how I speak. Even the river stutters, like I do. I wake up in the morning with the sounds of words all around me. I go to school and tell the class about my favorite place in the world. I talk about the river. And I talk like a river. Thank you. Thanks for coming out. Jordan Scott is the author of the book, and he has been a stutterer his whole life. And he writes about the book, he says, a stutterer's interaction with language is remarkably different than that of a person who doesn't stutter. Socially, the stutterer is a deviant, a facial acrobat, whooping in the throes of good morning or one cheeseburger, please. He reminds us that, quote, every word is achieved through bodily negotiation. And I know the truth of this negotiation in my dad's speech, who has Parkinson's and stutters often these days. There are moments to ask the body to negotiate speech, both by listening to it and speaking it. And there are many moments when sitting in stillness, in the quiet, that we find connection actually arrives. For today's meditation, I invite us into a place of stillness and quiet, into a place without deviance and without the pressures of words, into a place where we might discover the underground springs which give us all life. We'll begin by taking 3 conscious breaths together and then sit in the vast silence of ourselves until we hear the chime. So when we're ready, I invite your feet to be on the floor and feel yourself in the seat and take a big breath in. Hold it and let it go. Another big breath in. Hold it and let it go. And one more big breath, breathing all the way down into your feet, feeling it rise up through your body. Hold on to that breath with gratitude. We let it go. And I invite you to continue breathing, to continue being in this great silence together. Arriving somewhere together from silence reminds me of a line that I love by the theologian Howard Thurman. He says, "We do not know each other yet. We have not dared to be silent together." Thank you for daring to be silent together this morning. As we know each other more deeply in silence, we also know each other deeply through the joys and the sorrows in our lives. This is the time in our worship each week when we hear and hold and care for each other in our joy and in our sorrow. And so what I'll invite is after someone shares, we'll all respond by saying and moving, "We hear you, and we hold you, and we care for you." And Leonard will pass stones into the bowl representing the larger joys and sorrows of our community and the world. But to begin, I would love to invite anyone who's visiting today, maybe for the first, second, or even third time, if you could give a hello so we can hear and hold and care for you. Today. How about birthdays, anniversaries this week? Birthdays or anniversaries this week?
It's 28 on Saturday.
Nathan turns 28 on Saturday. So Nathan, we hear you, and we hold you, and we care for you. Yes. Pedro.
Well, I'm 59 on Saturday.
Great. Pedro, we hear you, and we hold you, and we care for you. Other joys or sorrows in the community this week?
Well, this is my first time back since having my left shoulder replaced to match my right shoulder. And so it's really good to see all of you. And I'm doing fine. Yeah, doing 6 sets of exercises a day, which keeps me very busy. Anyway.
So Susan, and your continued healing, we hear you, and we hold you, and we care for you.
Thank you.
Anyone else back here?
I'm Vicky, and I guess you'd call this a combination concern and joy. We learned this a couple days ago that our son, who lives in Denver, has COVID. And it's bad enough that he feels bad, but he's self-employed, which means he can't work, and that's not good either. So, you know, this mom is thinking, I'm helpless. What in the heck can I do? And I decided I could make him some vegetable soup since he's a vegetarian. And I contacted Claire. So Claire's the joyful part of this. I said, Claire, would you be willing to deliver the vegetable soup to Jeff's door? So that's going to happen. And so I'm happy about that. Thank you, Claire.
Hey, yay. Thank you, Vicky. So for you and for healing, we say, we hear you, we hold you, and we care for you. You are the quietest Unitarians I've ever encountered. This is really wild.
Just been reminded that next Friday will be my 74th birthday. And I didn't, somebody had to remind me.
So for Pete, remembering how great you are, we say, we hear you and we hold you, we care for you.
Hi, I'm Bev, and my husband Steve just turned 70 on Tuesday, and our kids gave a surprise birthday party, and we have 2 in Fort Collins and 1 in California, and he surprised us by coming out here, just showed up at the party. So it was just such a beautiful, beautiful family time together.
Great. So for celebrating you and celebrating family, we say, we hear you, we hold you, we care for you.
My baby is turning 74 today.
So, so 7. I know. I was like, I don't, maybe there's a marriage I didn't know about. I don't know, but I'm glad. So for all of our aging, we say, we hear you and we hold you and we care for you.
Just in case I miss next week, Sunday would be my 77th birthday.
So for you celebrating a birthday, we say, we hear you, we hold you, we care for you.
Hi, good morning. My name's Don Suriani. Yesterday was the annual 5th Pastels on 5th art show in downtown Loveland. And my daughter entered, and her exhibit, her piece of art came out, got 3rd place. And if you care to stop by and see it, if you have some time to kill, a lot of great art. Have some time to kill. Her spot was number 37, and it's on Cleveland, and it's really a very, very nice piece of work. Thanks.
Great. So in celebrating art, let's say, we hear you, we hold you, we care for you. So let's say one more for all those joys and sorrows that may be tender in our heart, maybe all those that we don't yet know. Let's say together, we hear you and we hold you and we care for you.
For a reflection today, we have monthly themes, and this month our theme is belonging. So being a guy, I just think, well, it's simple, black and white. You belong or you don't. But needless to say, these days, life is not that simple. So I went online. So I get this whole big circle, kind of like what we do at our meetings. So belonging depends on kinship, loyalty, acceptance, attachment, inclusion, affinity, closeness, and rapport. So it's much more complicated than we might think it is. And I usually like to look up a poem. So I went online and here's a nice list of 60 poems that include belonging. Well, these 60 poems are kind of like looking for the perfect birthday card for someone special. Sometimes they just don't fall in place. So, you know, we can make some simple assumptions about belonging, and they're usually true. Say someone drives by as church is finishing, they make the assumption we're Unitarians. Or if we see somebody fully decked out in their Bronco shirt and hat and whatever, we know they belong to a group that's supporting, you know, the Broncos football team. But what are the benefits of belonging? You know, if you're in a loving family, or if you're in a church such as Namakwa, you get love, you get support, there's closeness, you can relax. But if you don't belong to anything, then you're not accepted. People discriminate against you, and you're all alone. Some examples: in 1973, I just finished up 2 years at Mayo Clinic, and another therapist and I took a job in Arkansas. Well, when we got down there, the other therapist, Alan James, his wife got a job as a school teacher. Her problem was no one would eat lunch with her for several months. The reason being, she was from Illinois. So she was a Yankee and they were Confederates there. So the war in 1973 was not done. Also in that same time period, my oldest daughter, Carrie Lynn, she was 9 years old at the time, and she had spent most of her life, except for the 2 years in Minnesota and Montana. So we were exempt from the Civil War stuff, but she talked different than the kids down south. They made fun of her for talking too fast and said they couldn't understand her. So her and a friend came up with a solution. So one day after school, they changed clothes with each other so they'd be disguised. And then they were going to hitchhike to Montana and live with grandma and grandpa. Well, we were lucky enough that the person that picked them up brought them home. So that was good. But belonging can be very good. And I'm not sure how many other veterans here have done the honor flight, but that is a very emotional thing. You get tears running down your face. You meet out at the ranch. There's several hundred people to send you off. Probably 20 motorcycles leading this caravan of buses going down the freeway. There's fire trucks at the overpasses. The highway patrol blocks the entrances so nobody can interrupt. And then when you get into Washington, D.C., and you get to the World War II Memorial, you get off the bus and here's several hundred school kids are out touring, but you're a veteran. You have to walk down a line through all them. They all want to shake your hand, and parents are coming up saying, can I get your picture, you know, with my son or my daughter? I mean, it was hard not crying. You know, when I came home from Vietnam, I was not treated like a hero. So it was a very enlightening and felt good to be part of that. But now with the water communion, it might take a little time. So we're just going to finish up with you and me. I would like you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and I want you to think about how you would feel if you had no family, there was no Namakwa, you had no friends, and there was no America. So just think about how would you feel? Next, keep your eyes closed and take another nice deep breath. And think about how you would feel knowing you are a member of Namakwa Church. You have a very loving, supporting family. And even your political party and the Congress are getting great things done for all of us. Okay, so now I'd like you to open your eyes, look around, and I want you to repeat after me. I am glad you belong here and are a part of our Namakwa family. Thank you.
Our stories and of our wonder, an intersection of the everyday with all of us. And so what I invite is for folks to step up to share briefly a story about where their water is from, and then to pour it into our common bowl, and we'll pass the mic to the next person afterward. So Mim, do you want to start? You're here ready.
Okay, I need an arm.
Okay.
There's such an advantage to being a GIMP. So this water represents Lake Michigan on the shores of the Indiana Dunes, where I was on July 23rd, witnessing the marriage of my friend's daughter. My friend had died a month before, and it was just so excellent to be able to celebrate something and to be there. So that's very special water.
All right, this is imaginary water, and it is from the Columbia River and numerous waterfalls that fall into the Columbia River when I was visiting my son in Oregon, and Lake Oswego, where he lives. And then moving west, it's from a lake high in the mountains above Park City in Utah, where I visited my youngest son, who turned 44, not 74 or 54. And then also from Wisconsin, Lake Michigan, and Birchwood Lake. While many of you were saying your goodbyes to Laurel on June, what was that, 12th? My family and I were in Dillon with a family reunion. And so the water that I just joined with the other water was from Dillon Reservoir.
I've been trying to think it's an interesting place I could say about water from. Place I wish it was, the place I spent most all my summers is in Cliff Island, Maine, which is off the coast from Portland. But the real world here is I'm going to have to share this, which comes from a Crystal Geyser bottle. But I drink it every day for the last 5 years. I'm going to put a little bit in. Good enough.
Well, this, normally I would be giving some water from some of our travels for the last year, but we haven't traveled anywhere this last year. But made me more fascinating though is this water is from a pond in my backyard. And I've always sort of just accepted this pond. I build it and I would put fish in it every year, and every winter they die and I'd go buy some more fish. But this year, when I drained the pond through a siphon hose, I had two little babies about inch long come through. And I said, my goodness, there are some babies in the pond. Unfortunately, the babies I found were dead. But so about a week later, I saw about 8 babies swimming around the pond, with the oldest one being slightly bigger, leading the way. It was like they were giving a tour of their home. It was really fascinating. And then about a week later, I happened to notice a pollywog. I don't know if any of you have ever seen a pollywog, but they're almost invisible. And this was a pollywog, and that says, I have frogs in my pond. And so over the summer, I have observed the pond grow into a very lifeful thing from what I thought was a lifeless pond. I now have 9 fish, all about 6 inches or larger, and 8 frogs. So my pond is a well production operation.
Thank you. This water is from Loch Ness in Scotland, but it's symbolic because we didn't want to jump in for fear of the monster. But we encountered a different kind of monster a couple days later and both got COVID. So but we saw what we saw and we're both well, and that's what counts.
Well, I was fortunate enough this summer to spend a few days in Santa Fe along with Tom and Rebecca's daughter, Leah. And some of you may know Marilyn and Al Brandenburger. And the bottom part of this water, it's distinct, is from the Santa Fe River. And then a few days ago, I thought I've spent so much time in my garden this summer. So I thought I need to bring some water just from the hose that I water the garden with.
I'm tall enough I can pour my imaginary water from here, save a little time. Yeah, so our imaginary water comes from a few places. One of them is the Loveland and Greeley Canal, which is by Centera, which we moved to about 6 weeks ago. So it's great to be closer to everybody here and share that water with y'all and the Loveland water system. Last month we were near the Columbia River, like Marion, and enjoyed the Puget Sound, the Columbia River, the tidal pools, the Pacific Ocean, and all that water we wanted to bring here, imaginary. And then back in May, we were in Henley on Thames and London and in UK, trip of a lifetime. So we brought some water from that great distance.
Thank you, Doug, for bringing Loveland water, because that's what I would have brought myself. I had hoped to bring both Pacific and Atlantic Ocean water this year, but instead I adopted a very troubled dog and I had to cancel all my plans. I think I did well for her. I'm glad of our time together. And it made my non-travel this year very valuable.
Come on up.
Why don't people get in line? It would really be helpful.
I know, I don't know why I was waiting.
It's a tag team again. This water represents several places we've been. The first bit is Little Cache Creek, which is a little river that runs through the very southern tip of Illinois, where I experienced many great trips there with the builder of a cabin. He built it in 1964, but he passed away last year, and we had memorial service there in May.
In July, that was in Southern Illinois. In July, we went to my family reunion in Central Illinois. So this represents the Illinois River.
Well-oiled machine. And then in August, we were in Hilton Head to witness the wedding of my daughter and her man's family. And so it was a merging of families and a great family reunion on my side of the clan. Atlantic Ocean, yeah. Okay.
Oh, Lake Michigan, such a great place. We were there too, Mim. We got to go in August. I always went when I was a kid to Saugatuck with my family, and we'd always spend a couple weeks on the lake in Michigan. And our son surprised us this year and found a home that my parents owned in Saugatuck online in an Airbnb site. And they rented it, the home that my parents owned, so that Jim and I could celebrate our 45th anniversary with all our sons and granddaughters and daughters-in-law. So it was a huge, fun week.
The name Michigan, Lake Michigan, comes from an Ojibwe word that means great water. And it was every day was different. Some days we called them fanny slappers. There'd be big waves coming in and knocking you over. And the last evening we walked the lake, it was absolutely pristine and quiet. And the water was so clear. It was just a reminder of how resilient nature is if we give it a chance.
This water is from upstate New York, where I was this last week, the Sacandaga Lake, where I learned to fish and row a boat and build a bonfire and had really good, happy childhood memories.
So this is clean drinkable tap water. It just occurs to me that this is very rare on this planet. So many parts of this planet you can't get this. So let's for a moment think about all the people that makes this possible, the engineers, the plumbers, the technicians, the laborers, so we can turn on the faucet and drink safe water. So anytime you turn on the faucets, just give them a quick word of thanks.
And this water represents water from Iowa, where we had a family reunion. Got to see my brother and sisters and cousins and second cousins, and all like that.
So Dick, my water's from my pond too. And 'cause that's my favorite place to be. And I also would love to trade you some water hyacinths for tadpoles. Love to have tadpoles. But also, where would we be without water? Oh my gosh, I have every hot day. Well, not every hot day, but man, oh man, we can get to the rivers. We can put our feet in the beautiful water and we're not hot anymore. And I mean, I've been to the Caribbean this year. I've been to so many different bodies of water and you're right. We can't take this for granted. You know, it is a gift. So here's my water.
My wife Bev and I are both from New Mexico, so we appreciate water. We got in a pattern several years ago of going to Taos to just find some quiet time, and it's become a very spiritual time for us for the last 6 or 7 years. We have a favorite place. When we go there, we try to go out to the Rio Grande Gorge and sit down and watch the Rio Grande River and look down this beautiful, deep gorge and find some peace in our soul. This year, we gathered a few stones as we were sitting by the gorge, and we brought them back. We made a little cairn, which I glued together because it would hardly even stand up on its own. But now it's great. and that reminds us of our time in Taos. So this water is representative of the Rio Grande.
Well, this has been a really challenging year, so I'm going to add a few symbolic tears.
Well, this water is from Windsor, Colorado. I just moved there 3 weeks ago. And I'm not going to jump my water bottle in, but that's where it's from. It's Windsor. And I found a nice place to nest.
My water is just from our home, which I've heard is kind of a theme today. We had a family reunion, and we have a reunion for my family every 2 years, but in 2020 it was canceled and we weren't able to have it till this year. So it was so great. We always kind of base out of our home and organize it around Fort Collins is where my family grew up. So really was wonderful to be able to get together again and to belong.
Well, I just moved here from Tucson. And for a few years, I lived next to the Relito River. And this is how much water was normally in it. And I've now, part of my experience is I've seen the river mowed and plowed. And one day I was walking my service poodle and it just seemed a little strange. And then all of a sudden I realized I looked at the Relito River and it had water in it, just like a normal river. And it was surprising. So be surprised when you see water in a river.
Well, this is pure rainwater that came down just the other day. And we have to be always grateful for what comes out of the sky.
Sorry to interrupt. I was a little dishonest with you before. I looked it up on my phone and I'm actually going to be 78.
We're going to start singing you happy birthday. I was in New York City during September 11th and I was up there. One of the things I do
during this week is I bury myself in some kind of activity to distract myself from the weariness and the memories and whatnot. And when it was the water ceremony, I was sitting up there going, darn it, I forgot, because I'm such a joiner, right? Like if everybody's doing something, I want to do it too. And I just thought to myself, I don't have any water to give. And then I realized that I have lots and lots of water. So I offer you my tears for the 3,000 people that were burned to death on that day. And I'll never forget what it smells like, but I know that the goodness that came out of that day was a sense of community and unity where everybody came together. So I raise that up to you all.
It's not from anywhere special or super special, but it's special to me. My husband and I are about to celebrate our first anniversary in a few weeks, and we've spent the past year, we've gone up to Estes Park so many times just to share in our new life together and just get dinner or sit by the river or something. So we went up there yesterday and I got some water from the river in Estes Park. So
Where the buck butt. Hello, hello. Oh, there we go. We're the Buckmeyers, and this is water from just west of the Rocky Mountains up in Wyoming, where we spent a beautiful week just crashing with very few people around. And we're sorry to steal the water from the west, but we'll take some out with us in Seattle.
Hi, my name's Sharon and this is my daughter Rachel. And we like to collect moon water in the full moon. And so the water I have here was collected the week, almost the very time when Laurel left us in June. And to me, it's very special. I keep it on my altar.
And then I have moon water from last night, which was the harvest moon, which is supposed to symbolize the beginning of harvest and also bring, the end to the summer. This water has been cleansed with selenite and protected with tourmaline.
I'm going to do virtual water because it's such a shortage around. You see all the houses going up and I don't know where all the water is going to come from, but my virtual water is from Northern Cascades Park in Washington to see the blue-green water ground out from glaciers, or to be high in the mountains in Colorado in gin clear water, trying to catch some beautiful brook trout. But we also stopped at Grand Coulee Dam that was formed in northern Washington. It was from glacial Lake Missoula from 12 to 15,000 years ago from massive floods. And glacial Lake Missoula was the size of Ontario Lake and Lake Erie combined. So it was rather huge, but I needed to stop at Grand Coulee Dam because my grandfather helped build it in the 1930s. So here we go.
Thank you. So last summer, before I left Austin, I sat in my kayak on the Colorado River under the South Congress Bridge, and I pulled apart an apple and had a momentary ceremony to say goodbye to Austin and hello to whatever was in my future. And I put the seeds of the apple in the water, and I envisioned what the tree would grow into in my future. And I can feel the roots of those trees starting to take form. Also, open mic, this Friday, 6:30.
I'm Marcia and I live in Pueblo. So water is rare there. So I've been, this is symbolic of the bird bath. I've been trying to keep the birds in water, and also the joy of going to the Sand Dunes National Park last week. And there was actually water running. And actually a few other, it symbolizes the tears I had when I had to leave my 99-year-old mother after visiting her this summer.
Hi, I'm Katie. This is just rainwater that was collected in my little dish that I keep out for like bee water, so that they can land and get water. Anyway, just in thanks to, I guess, the water we still have while we still have it.
This is water that I will never forget the taste of at this prison that I work at called Territorial, where the video you saw, that the movie we made, is there. And the water has a quite distinct taste in Canyon City and siphoned through many systems to get into the drinking fountains there. So this is thinking about all the people who don't have the blessings that we do, who don't have the water that we do in front of us, who don't have the ability to travel and to be free and to adventure and be full. We remember them, we hold them close, and we know that their relationships are just as nourishing to us as any other one. We have been blessed by these stories. Like the sea, they roll into each other, calling us toward the constant pull of possibility. We have been blessed by these waters, sacred elements gathered and shared, reminding us that the sacred is always before and within us. We have been blessed by our belonging. Out of many, each distinct comes one, water that honors beloved community. Bless these waters from Lake Michigan and the Columbia River and the Dillon Reservoir and the Cliff Island and Crystal Geysers, backyard ponds and the Loch Ness. It's the Santa Fe River from the Garden Hose. Bless these waters from Loveland Greeley Canal, from Henley on the Thames, from Loveland, from Little Cache Creek, from the Illinois River, from Hilton Head. Bless these waters from the Great Water, from upstate New York, from clean taps, from Iowa, from ponds and favorite places. Bless these waters from Taos and the Rio Grande, from our tears, from Windsor, from home and families, from the Relito River, from the sky, from our community. Bless these waters from Estes Park, from the west of the Rockies, from the full moon waters of June and the harvest moon last night, from glacial Lake Missoula, from the roots of our dreams, from the bird baths of Pueblo, from the sand dunes, from the rains, and from the prison. May they nourish, may they wash, may they nudge, may they erode, may they delight, may they support, may they show, may they mingle to whet our appetite for life. May it be so. Take all these waters and we stir them up. And we use them to bless our plants and to bless our dreams that we're growing together. And now I invite you to rise and body your spirit and sing with us number 100. I've got peace like a river.
We extinguish our chalice today with an excerpt.
Because of time, I was gonna say, we're gonna do the offering as you exit. So we can speed along. So we'll do it on the way out.
We'll have the baskets out there.
Yes.
So we extinguish our chalice today with an excerpt from After the Rain by Jared Carter. And this poem reminds me very much of my roots in Iowa. After the rain, soft furrows show one way across the field. But what is hidden here requires a different view. The glance of one not looking straight ahead, who in the clear light of the morning sun simply keeps wandering across the rows, letting his own perspective change. After the rain, perhaps something will show, glittering and strange.
What is water but rain, but cloud, but river, but ocean, but ice, but tear? What is tear but torn? What is worn as skin, as in, as out? May we all come to the pond, or the river of our imagination, or the harbor of our longing, and put our lips to the world. There we find ourselves among the waters of peace and love and joy. There we find ourselves in the world around us, rushing rivers and great silences alike. There we find ourselves glittering and strange in beloved community. Let's end with one big breath. Take a big breath in, hold it, and let it go. Thank you all for a beautiful water communion today. We have a couple of announcements. First, special thanks to Janen, who has done so much work to put this retreat day together, including getting our square dance collar. She just went to pick up burritos. So please, as you step outside, join our ministry fair, sign up to join us in a ministry. It could be any number of things. Push yourself a little bit. We also want to make sure that you know there is no choir this Thursday, and the schedule is on the website. So if you look at the choir page on the Namakwa website, it's there, but there's no choir practice this Thursday. And the offering this quarter is for the Thompson Education Foundation. We split our offering with them, and the baskets are in the back. We ask that you give generously on your way out. Please come back in here at noon for square dancing. It's going to be a blast. And if there are some plenty. Definitely. And if we can have some people wouldn't mind hanging out and helping me move the pews aside so we can square dance in here in a couple hours, that would be great. Have a beautiful day.